All right, hello everybody. I've been meaning to do this video for a while. So this is going to be the teardown and discussion of all the things that needed to be modified for my 8mm FAL. To my knowledge, this is the only 8mm FAL. I do know a guy that did this in kind of an AK arrangement, but this is the only 8mm FAL that I'm aware of. So, here's the ammunition comparison. This is a 308, and this is 8mm stuff, so it's quite a bit bigger. That caused the first problem. The first problem was which magazines would need to be used, even if that would fit into the receiver. So the magazine in the 8mm conversion is a MG13 magazine. It was a German, there's some Waffen marks on here somewhere, magazine for a machine gun they had. And this is the modification that was necessary here is just a little bit of this tab taken off so that it will match up to the receiver when it's rocked in. The magazine had a very small beak that needed to be welded up. It's bigger because the FAL receiver has a shelf inside here, and this one's been modified to take inch or metric magazines. So that's it for the, well, I should say the lips here had to be reprofiled to match the lips of a regular FAL magazine, or as close as I could get. At any rate, I just kept messing with them until I got the feed that I wanted. This is a regular metric FAL magazine, and that's a inch one. So you can see the beak is bigger here, and that's why the modification requires opening up the receiver a little bit there. All right, so at that point, this magazine still wouldn't fit in the rifle because the ejector block, the regular FAL ejector block, let me grab one of those. All right, so this is the normal FAL ejector block. It lives inside the receiver here. And these two holes here, this hole and this hole, go through these two devices. So it sits in there like that. And normally the bolt hold open and the mag lever, the mag retention lever go through these parts. Well, obviously with that in the rifle, it was going to be too big. The magazine was going to be too big. So the first thing was obviously for the design, that piece had to go and a different piece had to be put in. And that was really the tricky part of the whole build, was figuring out how to make that piece. So what I'm going to do is tear the rifle down. And we'll start talking about the individual pieces. Okay, so now we got the rifle torn apart. I'll start with the lower. It has the least number of changes to it. The most obvious mod here was I drilled this piece through so that I could put a set screw through into the grooves that exist on the back of the sight. I did that because the sight, even with the springs in it, was moving up under recoil. You have to run the gas pretty much wide open, well, hotter than I would normally run on a regular FAL, because there is such a little dwell distance, I should say, at the back of the bolt travel. You have to make sure it goes all the way to the rear, or it's not going to pick up the next round. So I ran a little hotter, and the sight was moving under recoil. The other mod that was made down here is the front of the hammer was reprofiled. It's usually a bit more. If you look here, there's usually more of a pronounced hump there. And that caused a problem with the modified bolt, because on this bolt I had to wallow out some of the material here just because of the way it sits on the magazine. It was close enough that the rounds in the back of the magazine wouldn't allow the bolt to go fully into battery. So that would obviously have been a bad thing. So that's pretty much everything that was done down here. I did make some custom springs at one point to try to get a heavier hammer fall, because I was shooting some 8mm ammo that had pretty hard primers, and I've since gotten rid of that ammo, and so we don't have to do that anymore. So that's everything for the lower. Everything else that needed to be modified is part of the upper, or the barrel. So let's get to talking about that stuff. So again, the big problem was the ejector block. So you can see, actually, let me get the other FAL broken open. I'll put them side by side. All right, so backing up for a second before we move on to the upper, I got the other lower apart, the other FAL apart, and you can see the difference here that I'm talking about. You can see how angular the hammer normally is, these angles here. And the problem was with the bolt cut like it needed to be, it would actually hang up here. So the bolt wouldn't go into battery, and I had to smooth this down so that it didn't do that anymore. All right, so again, that's pretty much everything that was done in the lower. Okay, so back to the upper, and specifically the ejector block, because it was kind of the bugaboo for this build. All right, so this allows us to see both of the ejector blocks as they sit in the rifle. So you can see normally the ejector is about, this delta here from the edge of these ramps here in the receiver. There's of course your locking shoulder and the bolt hold open. And in the 8mm version, I had to abbreviate the ejector block. You can see it only goes from here to here, as opposed to filling up that entire distance. And that's to allow the magazine to get in. And then I had to make the ejector quite a bit longer. You can see how much it sticks out here, to get it to the same position, because obviously its relationship to the ejection port can't be altered or things aren't going to work right. All right, so that's that. Now on the bottom of this, I've got a torsion spring inside here that operates this, and it's just a piece of tool steel that I used. And it uses the same, one of the pinholes that normally would have been for the pins that hold the ejector block in. There's only one of these in this build. I don't know why they put them in with such strength, because there really isn't a lot of force on this device. It doesn't have anything to do with holding pressure or under recoil, any of that stuff. Really, the only thing that happens to it is the casing hits this and gets thrown out. So the only force impacts it right here, and that just pushes it against the receiver. So I haven't had any trouble with just a single ejector block in there. Or I'm sorry, just a single ejector block pin holding it in. So I use the other hole for the mag release. All right. Okay, so other stuff that's different up here, really just this piece. Nothing else really changed on the receiver proper. The barrel, however, is a completely different arrangement. Normally the FAL barrel just has a shoulder like you'd expect, and it threads into the receiver. This is a Mauser barrel. It's actually the second barrel I made for the 8mm FAL. I didn't like the first one. There wasn't enough material really where it impacted the receiver. So I decided to copy Ed Vandenberg's design. When he does big free-floated FAL barrels, he does this. He just basically makes a barrel nut, and then he turns the barrel down to the same threads that are inside the receiver. So that's basically what you see here, is a continued thread from where it actually, this thread is the same exact threading that's keeping it in the receiver, and the inside thread on the nut is the same. So you basically crank this barrel in until you get your headspace where you want it, and then you tighten this nut to hold it in that position. And of course on the FAL, there's the gas tube collar here kind of mucks into the way, so you have to cut a U out of the top of this block. Okay. And these holes are actually for holding the handguards on, because these are some Penguin handguards I won in a match someplace, and I never really liked them that much, but they go well on this rifle. I redid the fronts of them with metal hardware off of some really crappy laminated handguards I had laying around, because the thing gets hot, somewhere around 60, 70 rounds in a stage, it'll really start to heat up. So I guess those are modified as well, but I considered that kind of an afterthought for the rifle. The barrel isn't the same length from here to here, so I did have to modify the gas piston, but it was a straightforward, just turning it down to match the new overall length. So this distance is a little shorter than it would be on a normal FAL. You can see that right there. So let's abbreviate a little bit. And the reason I did that was the barrel out here is not thick enough to match up to the inside of the gas block. So I just said, well, it's close enough. I'll just cut this part of the barrel, which is larger for the inside of the gas block, and put it there and shorten the spring or the piston. That's really much it. It's a Hess receiver. I'm sure everybody will cry and say egads. And we need to talk about the bolt yet, so I'll move these out of the way. All right, so the difference you can see between a regular FAL bolt, that's this one, and the 8mm version is, as I noted before, this area has been cut out quite a bit versus a normal, and this piece has been done away with completely. Other than that is a stock bolt. The rear ends of the cartridges are the same in both cases, so I didn't have to do anything there. I did reprofile this a little bit. Just one of the ammos that I was using didn't seem to like it, so I just polished that up and added a little bit more bevel to it. But that's it. That's everything that needed to be done to make the 8mm FAL, the Stimmgewehr it's been called. Let me know if you have any questions, or if I missed something, or if there was a detail you wanted covered, and I'll put it in the video for you. One other thing I will mention about the rifle is that because the MG13 magazines have this big nub on the back of them, I believe that even in the original weapon they functioned as a sort of bolt hold open. That's the only reason I can think of this thing is as beefy as it is. And that actually works the same in this rifle. It functions as a bolt hold opening for this rifle as well, which is kind of nice. So unlike an AK, you actually do get at least the bolt held back until you remove the magazine. But it helps you notice that it's gone, that the rifle's gone dry when you're shooting it.